Canned tuna is one of the most convenient and popular proteins in grocery stores. It's cheap, it's versatile, and it's shelf-stable for years. A go-to for salads, sandwiches, casseroles, and even diet plans, it's long been seen as a healthy alternative to red meat. But what if that can of tuna you just grabbed off the shelf is quietly doing more harm than good? The truth is, not all canned tuna is created equal. Some of it contains dangerous levels of mercury. Some comes from fisheries with horrific environmental practices. Others are guilty of outright mislabeling. What you think is premium albacore might actually be a cheap substitute. And the worst part? Some of the most questionable tuna sits on the shelves of major grocery chains you probably shop at every week. Mercury is one of the biggest hidden threats in canned tuna. Large predatory fish like tuna naturally accumulate mercury in their bodies as they consume smaller fish. But certain species, especially albacore and yellowfin, can have dangerously high levels. Long-term exposure to mercury can lead to neurological damage, fatigue, memory loss, tremors, and even developmental problems in children. Regulatory agencies like the FDA and EPA offer loose guidelines, but they don't enforce limits nearly as strictly as they should. And while some tuna brands work hard to test their fish and keep mercury levels low, others don't bother or simply don't disclose it. Unfortunately, many of the worst offenders show up in the bargain bins or store brand shelves of well-known grocery stores. One major grocery chain, known for its big bulk discounts and warehouse-style shopping experience, has come under fire multiple times for stocking canned tuna with elevated mercury levels. Their private label tuna is extremely affordable, but that affordability comes with a price. Independent lab tests have found that some of their white albacore cans contain mercury levels well above what's considered safe for pregnant women and children. The company doesn't test for mercury themselves, and they rely on vague supplier promises rather than direct oversight. Because they buy in such massive quantities from multiple suppliers, quality control is virtually impossible to track. One can might be relatively clean, the next, a toxic minefield, and there's no way to know until it's too late. Another popular national chain, one often praised for its organic and health-conscious offerings, shocked consumers when investigations revealed that some of their canned tuna wasn't what it claimed to be. Tests showed that certain pole and line caught labels were misleading or outright false. Instead of being sustainably sourced by small fisheries, the tuna was coming from industrial fishing vessels using long-line methods that kill thousands of unintended marine animals: sharks, turtles, and even dolphins. These methods not only devastate ecosystems, but also tend to bring in older, larger fish that carry more mercury. Even worse, this chain claimed to be environmentally responsible, leading customers to believe they were making a better choice. But the can labels didn't match the sourcing reality, and the tuna was just as risky as cheaper brands. A third grocery chain, this one known for its low prices and heavy use of private label products, sells canned tuna under its own name that routinely ranks among the worst for both mercury and sustainability. The tuna is often packed overseas in facilities with minimal oversight and loose regulations. There have been reports of mislabeling, where skipjack tuna is passed off as albacore, or the cans don't disclose the fishing method at all. These products may contain carbon monoxide-treated fish, a technique used to artificially maintain color and freshness long after the tuna is no longer fresh. It looks bright pink in the can, but it's anything but safe. The flavor might seem mild, but what's hiding inside could be far more harmful than most consumers realize. Let's talk about mislabeling. It's more common than you think. One investigative study found that nearly 1 in 5 canned tuna products were mislabeled in some way. Wrong species, wrong country of origin, or fake sustainability claims. A fourth major chain, particularly popular in suburban areas and known for its colorful in-house brands, has repeatedly failed transparency tests. Their solid white tuna was sometimes found to contain a mix of species, and the fishing methods were often listed as unknown or unverifiable. Some of the cans even included fragments of bones or dark meat mixed in with the light flesh, which can throw off consumers who rely on tuna for medical or dietary reasons. These practices raise serious concerns, especially for people who eat canned tuna frequently or depend on it as a staple. Finally, one upscale grocery chain that prides itself on quality and international sourcing has been criticized for selling premium, imported tuna that actually contains higher levels of mercury than domestic products. These fancy cans often feature attractive labels in Italian or Spanish, promising ventresca or tano in olive oil, but tests show that they're rarely tested for heavy metals or contaminants. Just because it looks gourmet doesn't mean it's safe. In fact, because many of these products fall outside U.S. testing protocols, they can easily slip through loopholes in regulation. While the taste may be smoother and the packaging more elegant, the fish inside could be older, oilier, and more saturated with mercury than cheaper, more transparent domestic options. There's also the issue of BPA-lined cans. BPA is a chemical used in many food can linings, and it's been linked to hormonal disruption, fertility problems, and even certain cancers. While some companies have shifted to BPA-free linings, others, especially private label grocery store brands, still use the old, cheaper method, and they don't always disclose it. So even if the tuna itself were safe, the can could be leaching chemicals into your food. Over time, these exposures can add up, especially in people who consume canned foods regularly. Some brands try to get around criticism by flooding their labels with meaningless terms. Dolphin safe means nothing if the fishing method still kills dolphins. Wild caught sounds nice, but it could refer to industrial-scale harvesting with zero sustainability. Packed at sea is often just a distraction from poor hygiene and quality control standards. And when it comes to store-brand tuna sold at discount chains, the level of transparency is even worse. The supply chain is murky, the fish sourcing is vague, and the health risks are ignored. You might be saving money, but what are you really buying? The good news is, not all canned tuna is dangerous. There are brands out there that source from small-scale, pole-and-line fisheries. They test for mercury. They use BPA-free cans. They label honestly and clearly. These products tend to cost a little more, but for good reason. They're safer, cleaner, and far better for the planet. Unfortunately, the big-name grocery chains don't always carry these better options. Or if they do, they bury them on the bottom shelf in favor of their own house brands. That's why it's so important to check the labels. Do a little research and be willing to spend just a bit more for peace of mind. If you eat canned tuna weekly, or even just a few times a month, it's worth taking seriously. Mercury doesn't leave your body easily. It accumulates. It affects your brain, your kidneys, and even your immune system. For pregnant women or children, the risks are even greater. What seems like a healthy, protein-packed meal could be silently undermining your health over time. And it's not just about mercury. It's about the chemicals used in processing, the fishing practices that destroy marine ecosystems, and the lack of honesty in labeling that keeps you in the dark. So what should you do? First, avoid store-brand canned tuna from major grocery chains that don't provide third-party testing or transparent sourcing. Second, look for the words low mercury, pole and line caught, and BPA-free can on the label. Third, stick with trusted brands that consistently rank high in independent reviews, not just in taste, but in safety. And finally, consider reducing how often you eat canned tuna altogether. There are plenty of other shelf-stable proteins out there: sardines, beans, mackerel, or even wild-caught salmon in pouches. You don't have to give it up completely, just don't make it a blind habit. Canned tuna should be a convenience, not a gamble. But with certain grocery chains pushing the cheapest, lowest quality versions they can find, the risk is very real. What's in that innocent-looking can could be loaded with toxins, misleading labels, and unsustainable harm to the planet. The companies won't warn you. The labels won't tell you, but your body will feel it eventually. The next time you walk past that wall of canned goods, pause before you toss one in the cart. Ask yourself, is this a shortcut worth taking? Because when it comes to tuna, cheap and easy might not just be unhealthy, it might be dangerous.